All right, good evening. Welcome to the LPS monthly meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:35. Can I have a roll call, please?
Daniel Barrera. Carlos.
Here.
Jennifer Pellegrini.
Here.
Elizabeth Bainham.
Present. Was that me here?
Yes. Jocelyn.
Present.
Yeah, sorry, that's Irene Roseman.
Here.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to translation check, please.
Sí, hola, buenas noches. Si desean escuchar el audio en inglés, por favor aprieten el globo terráqueo donde pone interpretación y seleccionen el inglés. Y si desean escuchar la interpretación en español, hagan lo mismo. Aprieten el globo terráqueo donde pone interpretación y seleccionen español. Gracias. Thank you.
Where's that? Okay. So I would like to call for a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we'll need a roll call vote because we do have someone joining virtually. So can you call the roll, please?
Yay.
Jennifer Pellegrini.
Yes.
Are we adopting the agenda?
Yes, Jocelyn.
Yes.
Since we have participation on Zoom, we need to do a roll call for the votes.
Got it. Yes.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Bainham.
Yes.
Jocelyn Lee.
Yes.
Irene St. Roseman.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries unanimously with all of those present. That moves us to item E, which is disclosure of items to be discussed in closed session, which include item A, public employee discipline dismissal release. Item B, conference with labor negotiations. Item C, employee performance evaluation for the superintendent. Do we have any public comment on the closed session items?
We do, we have 7.
Okay.
So I will call them, just on the list. And so, for those who are doing public comment, we have a space for you here and we have the audio right there. It's that little circle thing that's next to, Chair Pogue. Now it's next to by. If you can just project loudly, just so that it can be captured via. Hi. Oh, you know, I think you just walked in, so you probably, wait, come up here. Sorry, yeah, I know you just walked in, I'm sorry. Come up to the public comments chair, if you will. You can stand, it's up to you, but there's a circular microphone right here at the corner of this table. We just want to make sure you just project your voice. I'll see. And then once you get started, I will start the time. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is LaTanya Pye, and I have worked at LPS Richmond since 2019. I currently serve as the Career and Community Leadership Coordinator since fall 2021. Earlier this school year, a prominent home office staff member asked me, "What do you actually do at LPS?" At CCLC, I have maintained relationships with our growing alumni community, established impactful local community partnerships, both in and outside of the Iron Triangle, connected students with more than 60 college and career enrichment opportunities, and supported our groundbreaking business CT dual enrollment program. Within that program, 17 seniors from our inaugural cohort are preparing to graduate in June with business management certifications of achievement from Contra Costa College. So to answer your question, this is what I do at LPS. And that's one of the many reasons why we're here and why our school stands out amongst others. Now imagine what our school could do if we collectively have proper support from our senior leadership team. While significant work has been done, the reality is our students have unfortunately missed out on some notable college prep programs and highly acclaimed enrichment opportunities throughout the years due to a lack of proper support and prioritization of the work. In order to remain worthy of our school's name and our reputation in our community, we need knowledgeable leadership that is actively involved in this important work year-round, not just when charter renewal deadlines are approaching. Not only does this create an unhealthy and stressful working environment, but it also directly goes against some of the claims made in the LCAP and in our charter renewal, which not only illustrates an inaccurate story to the board and to West Contra Costa Unified, but to our current and prospective families as well. So we urge you to no longer be complacent and to be active members of our community because we cannot do this work alone. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Natalie Burnett.
Hi, I'm speaking on behalf of Alvaro Ibarra, who works at the Hayward site. Hello, my name is Alvaro Ibarra. I'm speaking as a member of the LPS community, an alumni, and a Hayward site representative through EBEU. I would like to share some thoughts in solidarity with my colleagues at the Richmond campus for the board's consideration. As a site representative for EBEU, I heard anecdotes about the difficulties my colleagues at Richmond have been experiencing this year, especially regarding concerns with the site's interim leadership. For instance, the Richmond community had their event form rejected and thus were denied an opportunity to celebrate Dia de los Muertos, a pertinent day of cultural significance for many Hispanic serving institutions such as LPS Richmond. The reason for their rejection was deceitfully under the guise of not having non-celebrating students feel left out. Instead of fostering an inclusive learning opportunity, this celebration was unjustly denied. Additionally, some of my colleagues in Richmond have shared about their renewal hearing where home office staff were called upon to speak on behalf of the Richmond community. The general sentiment from LPS Richmond staff is that they felt they would have been better informed had representatives from Richmond been more closely consulted or invited to share their experiences in the classroom and working to educate the surrounding community, the goal of any integrity-driven school. I want to emphasize that it is important to allow the adult experts employed by LPS to showcase their knowledge and experiences for the sake of transparency and collaboration. No one knows our communities like we do. These challenges in Richmond stand in contrast to the collaborative approach we've cultivated at Hayward. At Hayward, we have a robust administrative team. Teachers generally report that our administrators have the best interests of our students and community in mind, and we consistently work in collaboration with our administrative team to support our students in ways that impact their life trajectory outside of high school. Teachers trust admin to take action when action is needed, provide support when support is needed, and provide transparency when decisions are made. Collaboration is part of our everyday lives, and it is beautiful what can be accomplished when the day-to-day needs are not managed through complicated bureaucratic pathways that lack transparency and frankly trust in teachers and staff operating on the ground level. As the board moves into conversations around the performance of Dr. Daniels, we want to emphasize collaboration and transparency across all sites. We hope that those are points of reflection as his evaluation is considered, and that the board supports Dr. Daniels in making these principles priorities for the next evaluation cycle. At the end of the day, we all want LPS to be as strong as it can, and I hope that we can work together this cycle to improve on these areas to strengthen ourselves even more.
I also want to recognize when this goes to one, I think this really crazy sound comes on. But so I was trying to like stop it right before this. Great. Alyssa Casey.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. I understand a superintendent's primary responsibilities to include 1, ensuring the fiscal and educational soundness of all schools, 2, hiring and supporting effective school leaders, and 3, cultivating strong organizational culture and relationships with staff. During Dr. Daniels' tenure as superintendent, we have seen enrollment in Hayward and Richmond stagnate below pre-pandemic levels, while enrollment at Oakland has declined precipitously. These trends have threatened the fiscal soundness of our organization, as well as the education of the students we exist to serve. LPS Oakland's charter has now been non-renewed, the first time an LPS school has been non-renewed. With respect to hiring and supporting effective school leaders, Dr. Daniels' track record is similarly concerning. Since his appointment as superintendent in 2022, only 2 principals, Dr. Silverman Fernandez and Mr. Irving, have started and finished a full school year. Starting with Dr. Dunford, LPS Oakland has seen 4 principals in less than 4 years. LPS Richmond has been led by an interim and now an acting principal during the critical time of their charter renewal. The average tenure of the 7 LPS principals hired during Dr. Daniels' time as superintendent is less than 1.5 years. We believe this rate of admin turnover is unacceptable, and we believe that such turnover reflects a combination of ineffective recruitment, poor judgment during hiring, and inadequate support for school leaders. The buck has to stop with Dr. Daniels. You have heard for months about our concerns with the culture and relationships Dr. Daniels cultivated. You are hearing from our colleagues tonight about the many instances in which they have found Dr. Daniels' leadership to be ineffective, dismissive, and not in students' best interests. We believe him when he says he is trying his best. But we are left asking the question, by what measure is Dr. Daniels an effective superintendent? He has failed to protect our schools from closure, overseeing a period of intense leadership instability, and is ultimately responsible for the culture and relationship issues that you are hearing about tonight. This question deserves serious consideration, and we hope that you remember this feedback from actual stakeholders during his performance evaluation this evening. Our students need and deserve better. And we would love some transparency about the evaluation process, like how that feedback is gathered, what kinds of questions are asked. And this is all in the spirit to move our schools forward and to keep our doors open and to all grow and work together. And we appreciate this opportunity to present directly in front of you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Sophia Thomas.
Good evening, board members. My name is Sophia Thomas. I'm a 9th grade math teacher and EDU vice president in my 18th year at LPS Richmond. I'm here today in solidarity with my peers to express concerns regarding the effectiveness of our superintendent's leadership and how this stands to impact the future of our school. I want to state that my comments tonight is not a personal attack on our superintendent, but a charge to the board for accountability in seeing to the efficient running of our schools and to ensure that the decisions made are indeed what is best for our students and families. Having been on this job this long, I'm no stranger to change. I've seen the Richmond community adapt to a myriad of changes, both at the site and the net-wide work level. Today, I just want to elevate what I believe to be the failure on the part of leadership to adequately address issues which have negatively affected our school community. The inability to adequately staff key administrative positions has significantly impacted our schools, leading to an increased instability and operational inefficiencies. Additionally, decisions made under this leadership has negatively affected staff morale, which will inevitably contribute to high turnover, a challenge we cannot afford if we are to maintain a stable and a supportive learning environment for our students. Stakeholder input does not appear to be meaningfully considered, and concerningly, some information that has been presented to the board regarding our LCAP does not reflect our current reality as a school. Furthermore, our recent hearing with charter authorizers was not handled efficiently, raising further doubts about the superintendent's ability to represent and advocate effectively for our schools. As members of the board, it is imperative that you exercise rigorous oversight in evaluating the superintendent's performance. We urge you to take a critical and a thorough approach in this evaluation, ensuring that our leadership prioritizes students' best interests, that fosters a culture of trust, transparency, and collaboration. Thank you for hearing me tonight.
Thank you.
Thomas Henry.
Thomas Henry, LPS Richmond, PE instructor, last 3 years. I'm here because I'm concerned about the trajectory of our school. I'm worried about the future of it. In the last 3 years, we've seen a lot of turnover, especially in this last year. And so right now we're working with an interim principal. We've got a dean who is, or sorry, site supervisor is taking a dean spot. We have one site supervisor. That's it. So we are stretched super thin, and we have insurance that like we're going to get help from the home office. And I do see people from home office there, but as a teacher, I've not felt it. I've not felt the presence. Like right now, we're just kind of holding everything together. And in the process, where we're losing all of our climate and culture that we've worked so hard to build. To the point now where like students and faculty members feel unsafe. There's homophobia, there's racism that's been rampant to the point where like we have certain individuals not feeling comfortable or safe at school anymore. Concerns have been brought up to administration. They're doing the best they can, but being as stretched as thin as they are, like they're not being able to effectively come up with a solution. Our demographics are also concerning. Currently, like we're not representative of our population we serve. And so our Black students, few and in between, are feeling uncomfortable, and we're losing them. We're also losing faculty members as well because of it. It's, as a teacher, it's hard to hold the line if I don't feel supported. And I don't, because we're so thin. I know that a lot of my colleagues are not coming back next year because they don't feel supported. They don't feel like they can grow their programs. They don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I know that probably we'll be losing some of our senior representatives as well if we continue to cut our coaching. And therefore we can't provide what we need for our younger, less experienced teachers if they don't feel supported. So, I mean, I could do the same thing. I could find a program where I feel comfortable and has a department and allows me to grow, but I don't want to do that. I want to fix what's going on here. And so whatever is happening now is not working. And so as a representative of the union, as well as like my school, I want to get it fixed. And I'd like to see some real change. And I'd like to, as a member of the Richmond community, like have a part in that as well. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Brandon Monroy.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brandon Monroy. I'm a 12th grade student at LPS Richmond, and I am here to voice a couple of concerns about my school. First is that my school is currently, we don't have a principal. We've had the intern principal for the past 3 months, but she's been gone, and I noticed that it's been really stressful for my teachers, and it could be a lot better if we had one. And this also caused my senior year to be less fun than I expected it to be. I feel like I've missed out on a lot of opportunities that past senior years have had. And yeah, my second concern is how my school is lacking diversity, and without diversity, students aren't being fully prepared for the outside world full of different people with ideas and perspectives that we don't get to see at LPS Richmond. And I hope that will change after I graduate. Thank you.
Marco Bloom.
During February 26th WCC USD board hearing, questions came up regarding what interventions we have in place specifically designed to reduce our suspension rate for Black students and recruit additional Black students to increase our campus's sense of inclusivity. In response, one of the points that was named was that we have Black educators on staff. This insufficient response, coupled with the embarrassing reality that Dr. Daniels was unequipped to answer this entirely reasonable question that has plagued our school since its inception, should be as much of a concern to this board as it is to our Black students and staff who are forced to have weekly discussions in our Black Student Union regarding the discrimination that we experience on campus and why our Black students transfer out of the school year after year. To name Black staff as a support to this issue is furthermore offensive and assumes that Black staff are willing to continue to expose themselves to racism from students, colleagues, and administrators. It is additionally not data-driven, as the data would show a consistent decrease in Black staff and students over the past 2 years. I would like to reiterate the board members' questions to you all as it directly pertains to our ability to meet our Black staff and students' specific needs. What efforts will be taken to recruit Black students and shift our school's demographic? And how will we hold our appointed leaders accountable if they continue to perpetuate a racist and discriminatory institution? If we want to continue to cite our Black staff as a resource, we need to support those Black staff members. And if we hope to survive renewal, we need to show the community in Richmond that we are interested in fostering a legitimately inclusive environment. As board members overseeing our school, I invite you to seek insight from stakeholders on the ground at the Richmond site, to converse with staff and students who experience the space on a daily basis, and to grant our words enough weight to inquire further beyond what is reported by the sources that you have consulted thus far. Thank you for your time.
Doug Vicky.
Hello, greetings, everyone. Some of you I know well. I'm Zev Kavicki. I work for the California Teachers Association, and I get to work with all these folks here. I don't normally speak in front of the board. I've actually worked with LPS Richmond since 2011. So I think other than Sophia, I think it's us that go back that far. It's been a really awesome, successful school in all the time that I've known it. As have the other LPS schools. That's why what happened with Oakland this year was such a tremendous disappointment. There's really one point I want to make, but one of the things is we have raised concerns in and out of negotiations about Oakland for years, particularly around the admin and staff turnover, because it is impossible to run a school with that kind of instability among both leadership and staff. Sometimes you can tolerate it with one if you have it in the other, but it's just not possible to keep things sustained when you have that kind of turnover and a lack of leadership at the top of the school. And so what's happening at Richmond now is really, really concerning. Like, we need that kind of stability. I also think it's really easy. And I say this with all due respect, because particularly like Leah and Dr. Daniels, like, I've worked with you really closely and for a long time. It's really easy for all of you to hear this as the union fighting with the superintendent, which is how it's often cast. Our fight is not with the superintendent. People are fighting literally because they're worried about the future of their school. They're fighting for their school, especially people like Sophia, Alyssa, and some others here who've been there a long time. And the school means something to them. Like, they have a real commitment to the school, its future, and the community that they reside in. And they're fighting for their school because they're legitimately concerned that things are not working well. And I think the complaints that they raise are often heard as just complaints or attacks, and are not understood as real concerns about the health of their community that need to be taken seriously. So you're going to hear more probably from me and from all of them, because we're going to be starting negotiations soon. But this is really separate from that. And I just want to make sure people hear that this is not a fight with any particular person in this room. It is a fight for the future of LPS Richmond. And yeah, I applaud all of them, and I'm proud to stand with them in that. Thank you.
That was the final public comment.
Okay. So as a matter of practice, the board does not comment or take action on items that are not on the agenda. But I do just want to take the prerogative as a chair to say there have been some very serious allegations made tonight or statements made tonight alleging to racism and homophobia, things that we take very seriously, that things that do not belong in our schools or any school. So we will direct Dr. Daniels to make sure that these instances are investigated thoroughly so that we can address them thoroughly. And part of that process will be repairing any harm that has occurred, but also in those findings, figuring out what we can do to be proactive in preventing those things from moving forward. In regards to the evaluation process, there was something about that process being transparent. We can share more information as we are shoring that up. Tonight is a conversation that we will have in discussing some of those pieces, so we can take your feedback into that process and figure out how we can, that's something that we can discuss as a board team, is how we can include more community input into that process. And I do just want to thank all of you for coming. I know it can be hard and it takes a lot of courage to come to this type of setting. We've got the Zoom, the camera, the big board table. So I just want to thank you all for sharing your concerns. We take them very seriously. And, you know, I believe that Dr. Daniels' intentions are very aligned with yours. And so as a board, we will work together to figure out how we can better that alignment. So with that, there's a lot of information that you've shared with us tonight. We have some immediate things we'll need to address first and foremost, but we'll continue to work with all of you via Dr. Daniels, via your school leaders, and via the union. With that, I believe we will close the public portion and move into our closed session. Yes? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it's nice to see some of you. Okay, we have returned from closed session at 9:09. And there was one action taken in closed session. The board unanimously among those present voted to approve voluntary stipulated expulsion with suspended enforcement order regarding confidential student discipline matter, case number 2025001. And that was it. Yeah, that's the original. That's what I had. That brings us to union comments.
Alyssa and Sophia, I know when you walked out, you said that there weren't gonna be comments. I just wanted to double check because you're here. Can you raise your hand? Oh, perfect.
Hello?
Yep.
Yeah, we're okay with not giving a specific union comment tonight, but we really want to thank the board for the time earlier today during public comment.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that then brings us to our consent agenda. Oh, sorry, public comments. There was no public.
No.
Okay, all right, sorry, just double checking. So that brings us to our consent agenda. Can I get a motion, please? Second. Okay, roll call vote, please. Roll call vote.
Manuel Barra. Brian Cucciella.
Yes.
Jennifer Pellegrini.
Yes.
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 Jocelyn Lane.
Yes.
Irene St. Rosas.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries unanimously with those present. That then brings us to new business, approval of fiscal update, second interim.
All right, so the second interim report is required by the state with our financials as of January 31st. Next slide. The main updates into the second interim are the updated average daily attendance based on the P1, so reporting period through December, as well as our certified unduplicated pupil percentages, so the population of the student body. This has actually resulted in Hayward and Richmond came in at a slightly higher UPP percentage than was initially estimated, so slightly higher projected revenue for their local control funding formula, and also allowed shifts in spending on the grants from the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant, as well as A to G into the out years. So those adjustments were made as well. And you'll see that there were some adjustments overall. However, the major adjustments were done in first interim. The second interim is just getting closer to what we expect the end of the year to be. And there's less fluctuation over the course of the year. So the revenue lines are flatter from first interim to second interim, as well as next slide, the expenditures are also more in line with what we expected from first interim. So overall, we still have a positive ending balance for the year. If you go to the next slide, for each of the campuses, it is tighter at Oakland, given that their ADA did drop slightly from first interim in terms of the projection, but overall, we're still expected to spend less than the overall revenue, even if it's by a couple thousand. And with that, this is the update for the multi-year projections based on our census day, as well as the unduplicated pupil percentage for this year, as well as in the out years. And then the next piece is in terms of looking at the forecast and the multi-year projections. This is still based on the governor's January budget. The COLA increase for 25-26 is expected to actually come down in the May revise. Estimates currently are looking at somewhere closer to 2 rather than the 2.4. However, inflation currently for next year is outpacing COLA. So that's just something to consider as we continue to develop the budget and the LCAPs and as we bring that. So those are not many major changes from first interim, still positive fund balances for all of the school sites. So recommending the board approve the second interims for all 3 schools. Any questions?
Can I get a motion? To approve? So moved. And a second, is what I'm hearing.
Second.
I would like to make a comment. First of all, thank you, Shantip, for putting together a really clear, accurate, and thoughtful presentation and keeping our numbers in a positive direction. Just want to acknowledge, I know we addressed the Oakland enrollment in our PIP. But just want to really repeat what sort of looking for, stress, emphasize, been a long day, sorry. The fact that we really need to meet those enrollment targets to keep our budget for that location sustainable. So that's work we're gonna have to continue to drill down on. And so would love to hear, I know I've mentioned this before, but would love to hear maybe some focus groups of parents and students to see what they really love about the school and how we can engage them in recruitment, because I feel like I'm not a parent, but I feel like a lot of parents I know, yes, they tour schools and they see information, but a lot of times it's, well, where does your kid go? Or
the same thing, you know, with students choosing high schools, like they want to go where their friends go, or, you know, they want to spread the word. So so I think we need to take a deeper look at our PIP and just make sure that we're shoring up those enrollment targets.
And just to echo that, Dr. St. Roseman and I have been at the site about 3 times in recent weeks, and engaging with students around their experience there and what is meaningful to them about being in that environment. I think, to your point, Dr. Pellegrin, amplifying those voices and letting that be known throughout their communities and their network.
I will say that even with the uncertainty, we've been working with SCOLA for the past 2 years. And as of today, there's been 2 interest forms for the school itself. So there is interest.
Yeah.
It's the follow through that. we need to show.
Great. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, we'll need a roll call vote.
Oh, I will do the roll call vote.
Emmanuel Barrera. Okay. Dr. Irene St. Rosen.
Yes.
Valerie Fujikawa.
Yes.
Dr. Jennifer Pellegrin.
Yes.
Dr. Elizabeth Bayham.
Yes.
Jocelyn Lee.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, motion carries unanimously with those present. And again, thank you, Shantip, and well done. So that brings us to new information. All right, and we're gonna just skip this next slide real quick, and we're gonna go back to it at the end. All right, we're gonna start with the Oakland R&D initial here. We just need to fix something really quickly.
Okay. All right, no worries. So just for the board, to inform you all that on March 11th, we presented to the April board our appeal, which we submitted after denial from OUSD. We had family and staff in attendance, and you see we have over 40 e-comments, and other 10 students made comments. What I can share with you is that during the presentation, we didn't have any questions from the board, but we did have students, staff, either speak about the value of the school, the learning that's happening at the school. There was talk about positive union relationships between the home office and the school in terms of ensuring that it's collaborative. And in response, last night, as you know, I did receive an inquiry after the presentation to answer a couple questions. So they wanted to know essentially some questions around our progress on the PIP. They wanted us to provide an update. They wanted to know our census data from the census day for this year. And then in the presentation, we talked about our post-secondary outcomes, and we had the percentages, but they wanted to know the end number. So that was the primary ask, just clarifying data, and they would like that by Monday. So close of business. And so they need to post their report by March 24th. And then our final presentation due on 31st. That gives us opportunity to review that staff report and then create a report that can potentially address any areas of concern. So the big day for us will be on Tuesday, April 8th. It'll be an important day. I think today with the participation from the community with public comment, what I would echo is that on that day, we need, LPS Richmond, LPS Hayward, all of our staff there, including our families from LPS Oakland R&D, to show our support. One of the things I'm really proud of our network is that we do engage in collaboration. And that collaboration is also around identifying best practices to scale up in classes. And so there's been collaboration between the administrators between the school sites, as well as with teaching staff and support staff. And then student go backwards.
Go backwards.
Yeah, go backwards. Is it ready? No?
We're not gonna go there yet.
Oh, not ready.
Oh, hold on.
We can go forward.
You wanna go forward?
Move forward. So just for the board, for the community, just very quickly, in the presentation, we expressed to the board around the strong post-pandemic outcomes. And then go to the next slide. And that despite the school moving to the middle tier, that ACO wants to recognize us as a low tier school. However, that would mean a 2-year rule. Next slide. And so here are the areas around graduation, post-secondary outcomes, in our ELA and math performance. And then also the fact that we've been able to have strong staff retention of over 70%, and that we do have a succession plan. We have a strong principal in place that, just remind, Principal Zhang holds a master's degree from UC Berkeley, a degree in Principal Leadership Institute, and is a nationally board certified teacher. In looking at chartering goal, one of the criteria under AB 1505 is that closure is in the best interest of students. And so we did want to show, a co-located campus on where the school is located, Castlemont, in this disparity between the two schools, as well as LPS Open's R&D strong performance graduation rate longitudinally over the years. And also what we shared with that, we have each of our schools have a unique student demographic. And under the new law of AB 1505, it doesn't account for demographics when it's comparing school to school, or even the metric they use is comparing the state average against LPS Open R&D. The state average includes grades 3 through 8 and grade 11, and we only have grade 11. So we were able to filter the data and drill down to our performance in Alameda County. And you can see rank #1 for graduation. Next slide. And then just looking at our college enrollment compared to the neighboring schools in Castlemont. Next slide. The persistence for students staying in college of this open R&D was similar to nationally high schools that have poverty. And then compared to the local high school. The next slide. And then looking at completion rate, LPS Open R&D outperforms the local compared school co-located as well as the national average. Next slide. Our EL progress is below the state, but above OUSD. We're implementing a research-based curriculum, EL Achieve, systematic ELD in our classes, as well as implementing constructive meaning. And we have an ELD program of ELD 1, 2 in advance that we're implementing to serve our students. Next slide. And again, just to put things in context, of some of those schools who ranked 4th in Alameda County and 4th in LB. Versus for standard, LPS Open R&D outperforms OUSD high schools as well as the Colgate school. And the school ranked 3rd in Alameda County for similar demographics. Next slide. We also give the map assessment, and what I can say is that LPS Open R&D is very strong at hitting that 95% range area. And that if you have a CGI of equal to or greater than -2, and these students are making a year's growth under the AB 1505 statute, that constitutes making meaningful progress. And if you have an approved PIP and your students are making meaningful progress, that gives the board authority to approve a charter. And you can see for math, we had a slight decline and similar, we performed similar to local schools in this last school year. The previous year, we outperformed them. Next slide. Again, adjusting for demographics, we're fourth in the county. Next slide. And then looking at the math, similarly, in nearly all of the subgroup areas, we were making a year's progress. So we're implementing elective mathematics, providing professional development. And we are seeing that we are making a difference. What I can also report to the board is that on the latest winter math assessment, the school scored at the 76th percentile for growth. They're also implementing an AI software called MyPath, where students, primarily our juniors, are encouraged during the day to go on MyPath and reading and math, and it's really to help prepare them. So that's something that students are using. They can use that outside of school as well. Next slide. Some other promising data is that the CTE program at the school was redesigned to the extent where you can see, 75% of our 11th graders and 12th graders have passed at least one college course, and or for our seniors, they've passed 2 or 3. As a result of that work, the school's college and career indicator jumped to 69%. I think you have to hit the slide, sorry. It jumped to 69%, and you can see that it grew over 45 points. So that was a big focus of our network in terms of college and preparedness for our students at LPS Open R&D. And then next slide, just looking at historically underrepresented groups compared to the state, which our students are, school is comprised of various subgroups that historically are underrepresented. But you can see they're outperforming the state for every subgroup.
Yep.
So we're very proud of the work being done there. Next slide. And so just looking forward, right now we have 70% retention from last year, and 75% of teachers reporting they want to return. And in addition to that, there's no departures during mid-year. Next slide. And we also were able to see a change in the school culture. So the school culture moving from 48% to almost 80% in terms of favorable school culture from our students. There are other growth areas as well in terms of safety, student-teacher relationships. So this is the data that we shared at the presentation, that we didn't have any questions. What they reported to us was that, the document submitted was about 2,500 pages, just so you know, as well as digital files that we submitted. They reported they went through all our binders, they read all our material, and that was why they didn't have any questions. They had some questions for us prior to the hearing, but we got that information to them.
Okay.
Next slide. And so again, these are just those areas around the post-secondary success. The program improvement plan approved by this board. Thank you very much. And the academic gains in math and reading. And then also the overall culture of the school was trending in the right direction. So we will get the requested documents, questions to them by 17th, and then prepare for reviewing the staff report and then preparing our final slide deck.
So the hearing on the 8th is the determination hearing? Where we
Yes.
get the outcome?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, just in thinking about a positive outcome, let's just focus on that right now. I think, this information, like, we are all very familiar with, and we are all very aligned with the fact that the school has made progress. I think once we have a positive outcome, just, focusing on that. I think really figuring out what the right cadence and frequency of reporting out on the PIP and how the actions, like what actions are being taken, and then how that's correlating with these improvements as time goes on. So whether that's a, like a quick pip corner in your presentations every month, or maybe it's every other month, the principal comes and you guys do we can figure that out, but just to put that out there. I think we want to make sure, we want to make sure that, again, when we get that positive outcome and we're given that chance to continue to show that the school is viable, we're gonna have to really closely monitor what's being implemented and how what impact it's having. Because I think what's important is a lot, when we put these plans together, we really want to look at the results of the implementation, because there may be tweaks we need to make, just thinking about cycles of continuous improvement. So I just want to plant that seed now in preparing for success, because we'll want to really hit the ground running in that last quarter of the school year, moving forward, because if we need to make adjustments to the plan, we want to be able to figure that out in the last quarter of this school year, so that we start in August really strong. So just something to think about. I know it's late.
Two things. One to echo our chair is that I think data is data, and that's interesting, but I think hearing from Principal Chang about what that looks like on the ground in the classrooms, what she's seeing, the level of implementation, fidelity, the challenges, et cetera. I think that's really important, because I think that allows for early intervention and correction of work. And secondly, I just want to say that I appreciate the authentic engagement by ACO with Oakland and this process. It's been a very long, challenging season, I think, for the parents and the kids and the students at Oakland R&D and the staff.
For acknowledging that,
And I think the apolitical stance that they're taking in approach to charter renewal is very respectable. And somebody to really listen and see what is happening and acknowledge the process that is being made and the hard work that has happened. I don't think that we have experienced that yet until we've engaged with ACO.
Okay. And then so we had the switching to another school for LPS Richmond. We had the public hearing on February 26th. Unlike I would say ACO or OUSD, we did not receive any written requests to answer any questions from West Contra Costa. They did ask questions around suspensions in 2019, and they had questions around our African-American enrollment. Were the questions that came up that evening from the board. But there were no other questions that came up at all. So based on the timeline, West Contra Costa deadline to report to us to make their decision was April 30th. So we anticipate April 16th or April 30th, unless I'm notified otherwise. The one thing that is the indicator is that West Contra Costa must publish their staff report 15 days prior to the board meeting. It is a little late, but it looks like April 1st would be, that would trigger for the 16th, and then the 14th, I guess, of April. So we have reached out to West Contra Costa, and then once they let us know, we'll let the board know, and also let LPS Richmond staff know.
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, Women's Month. So, I guess for me, I have a lot of support from women. I think, I want to acknowledge the board configuration and I appreciate all of you for what you bring in terms of your diverse backgrounds and perspectives to help LPS. Also with the home office staff, I work very, closely with our staff. Majority of our staff are women. And I feel that they offer a lot of positive, critical, and needed feedback in my role to help me with my decision making. And so, Sophia, Lena, Shantip, just want to say, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then obviously to all the mothers and my mother and people, aunties and cousins that provide support. So just want to say that I'm very appreciative and feel it's a very important acknowledgement for me personally in my own personal life and professional life.
Thank you, Dr. Daniels, for your update as always. Any board comments? Hearing none, I will thank everyone for being here very late. We will call for a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Second.
Okay, so we are adjourned at 9:38. Might be. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night all.